One of the most common criticisms carnivores make about plant-based diets is that they're nutrient deficient. And to be fair, some of those concerns are legitimate. Vitamin B12, iron, zinc, protein quality. These are nutrients that can become challenging on a strict plant-based diet. But here's a question we don't ask often. If we're willing to examine the weaknesses of plant-based diets, are we willing to honestly examine the weaknesses of carnivore diets? Is the carnivore diet perfect? Or are there things we should pay attention to if we want to do it well? Today we're going to answer that question. And before we start, I want to give a shout out to one of my viewers who inspired this episode. Thank you for your thoughtful comment. You reminded me of something important. The goal isn't to defend a dietary tribe. The goal is to get healthier. Now, as someone who personally follows a carnivore-style diet, and as a physician who has helped countless patients improve their metabolic health using low-carb and carnivore approaches, I want to be very clear. This is not an anti-carnivore video. In fact, I think carnivore can be one of the most powerful therapeutic tools we have. I've seen it improve blood sugar, reduce cravings, reverse metabolic dysfunction, help people lose weight, and improve quality of life. But powerful tools still require instructions. A hammer is wonderful until somebody tries to brush their teeth with it. So today we're going to discuss what carnivore gets right, what nutrients deserve attention, the biggest mistakes I see, the iodine controversy, the labs I would consider, and how to do carnivore in a way that is both effective and thoughtful. Let's dive in. Before we discuss potential weaknesses, let's acknowledge the strengths, because carnivore has plenty of them. Most carnivore diets provide abundant amount of vitamin B12, iron, zinc, choline, protein, essential amino acids. These nutrients are highly bioavailable. In other words, your body absorbs and uses them very effectively. Many people also experience improved blood sugar, lower insulin levels, reduced cravings, improved satiety, weight loss, improved triglycerides, and better metabolic health overall. In fact, one of the most widely discussed carnivore studies, the Linear survey involving over 2,000 carnivore followers, reported high satisfaction and improvements in many health markers. Now, that study has limitations. It was self-reported. It doesn't prove long-term safety, but it does tell us something important. Many people appear to feel significantly better when they move away from ultra-processed foods and toward nutrient-dense animal foods. So let's get this out of the way. This video is not about proving carnivore is deficient. It's about understanding where attention may be needed, because every dietary pattern has strengths, and every dietary pattern has blind spots. Let's start with the 5 nutrients that deserve the most attention. Not because everyone is deficient, but because these nutrients repeatedly show up in nutrient analysis and clinical discussions. Let's start with magnesium. If I had to pick one nutrient that concerns me the most on a strict carnivore diet, magnesium would be near the top. Magnesium participates in hundreds of biochemical reactions. It helps regulate sleep, blood pressure, blood sugar, muscle function, nerve function, energy production, and symptoms of low magnesium may include muscle cramps, poor sleep, constipation, fatigue, anxiety, and heart palpitations. The challenge is that magnesium is abundant in foods such as nuts, seeds, legumes, leafy greens, not muscle meat. This doesn't mean every carnivore becomes deficient, but it does mean we should pay attention. Seafood helps. Mineral-rich water may help, and sometimes individuals may benefit from magnesium supplementation. One thing many people don't realize is that serum magnesium isn't always a great reflection of total body magnesium. Sometimes the labs look normal while tissue stores are less than ideal. The lesson: pay attention to symptoms, and don't assume everything is fine just because one number looks normal. Next, omega-3 fatty acids. Many carnivores eat plenty of meat. Far fewer eat enough seafood, and that matters. Omega-3 fats help support brain health, cardiovascular health, inflammation regulation, and cell membrane function. This is where food selection becomes incredibly important. A person eating salmon, sardines, mackerel, oysters, and mussels is a very different situation than someone eating only beef. One of the easiest upgrades to a carnivore diet is simply adding seafood. If seafood isn't an option, fish oil supplementation may be worth discussing with your healthcare professional. Food first, supplements second. Now let's move on to vitamin D. Vitamin D isn't really a carnivore problem. It's an everybody problem. Most people spend too much time indoors. Many people don't get enough sunlight. And few foods contain large amounts of vitamin D. Vitamin D affects bone health, immune function, muscle function, hormonal regulation, and mood. The best strategy: test, don't guess. A simple 25-hydroxy vitamin D level can tell you much more than internet opinions ever will. Now let's move on to calcium. This becomes particularly important for carnivores who avoid dairy. Most people think calcium is just about bones. It's not. Calcium is also involved in muscle contraction, nerve signaling, heart rhythm, and hormone secretion. Potential carnivore-friendly sources include cheese, yogurt, sardines with bones, small fish eaten whole. If dairy is absent from the diet, calcium deserves attention. Not panic, attention. Now let's talk about the iodine controversy. Of all the nutrients we're discussing today, this is the one that generates the most debate. Iodine is essential for thyroid hormone production. Your thyroid helps regulate energy, metabolism, body temperature, brain function, and hormonal balance. And here's where the controversy begins. Some people in the carnivore community argue that nearly everyone is iodine deficient. Others argue that meat contains everything you need. Neither position is universally correct. The truth depends on food selection, symptoms, labs, and individual circumstances. The recommended daily intake for iodine is about 150 micrograms per day. The established upper limit is about 1,100 micrograms per day. Yet some iodine protocols recommend 12.5 milligrams, 25 milligrams, even 50 milligrams daily. Let's put that into perspective. 12.5 milligrams equals 12,500 micrograms. 25 milligrams equals 25,000 micrograms. 50 equals 50,000 micrograms. In other words, some individuals are taking 10 to 45 times the established upper limit. Now, before the iodine community gets upset with me, let me be clear. There are physicians and researchers who believe higher dosages may benefit specific individuals under specific circumstances. But that's very different than recommending massive dosages for everyone. One of the biggest mistakes in nutrition is assuming that if a little is good, more must be better. Sometimes that's true. Often it isn't. Too little iodine can create thyroid problems. And too much iodine can create thyroid problems. That is why I don't practice guess-based medicine. I practice test-based medicine. If iodine is a concern, discuss testing with your healthcare professional. That may include TSH, free T4, free T3, thyroid antibodies, and in some situations, urinary iodine testing. The goal is not to have the highest iodine level in the carnivore community. The goal is to have a healthy thyroid. That should be our focus, always. Now, let's discuss several nutrients that may or may not become concerns, depending on how you're doing carnivore. Let's start with thiamine. Thiamine, also known as vitamin B1, plays a critical role in energy production. Interesting. Recent nutrient modeling studies repeatedly identify thiamine as a potential concern, especially for people eating mostly beef and very little else. Pork is a much richer source. Certain fish can help. Organ meats can help. Symptoms of low thiamine may include fatigue, brain fog, poor concentration, neuropathy, weakness. Again, the issue isn't necessarily carnivore. The issue may be food selection. Let's move on to folate. Folate helps support DNA repair, cell division, red blood cell production, and homocysteine metabolism. And one of the richest animal sources is liver. This is another reason why a carnivore diet built around a variety of animal foods is different from one built around ribeye alone. Now let's address another controversial topic, vitamin C. Many carnivore advocates correctly point out that vitamin C requirements may be lower when carbohydrate intake is very low. There is some physiologic logic behind that argument. Lower insulin, lower glucose competition, potentially lower requirements. But lower is not the same thing as zero. And that's where the conversation sometimes gets lost. Some organ meats contain vitamin C. Some carnivores appear to do well long term, but we still need more long-term data. My position is simple. This is an area where humility is appropriate. The evidence does not support panic, but it also doesn't support pretending the question has been fully answered. Let's move on to potassium. Potassium supports muscle function, nerve signaling, fluid balance, and heart rhythm. Meat contains potassium, but many people still fall short of ideal intake levels. Again, food selection matters. Seafood helps, dairy helps, and sometimes electrolyte support may be appropriate. Alright, vitamin K2 and copper. These are often less concerning, particularly when people consume egg yolks, cheese, liver, shellfish, and organ meats. This is another reason why diversity within animal foods matters. Now, this may be the most important section of the entire video, because many symptoms blamed on nutrient deficiencies aren't nutrient deficiencies at all. Not enough sodium. Low-carb diets reduce insulin. Lower insulin causes the kidneys to excrete more sodium. The result: headaches, fatigue, dizziness, and weakness. Sometimes the answer isn't a supplement. Sometimes the answer is simply more salt. What about not enough fat? I've seen this many times. Someone tells me carnivore isn't working. Then I discover they're eating extremely lean meat. The body can run on fat. It does not thrive on protein alone. This is one of the most common mistakes I see. Another is histamine intolerance. Some individuals react poorly to ground meat, aged meat, leftovers, and fermented foods. This may have nothing to do with nutrient deficiencies. Histamine may be the issue. What about just lack of variety? This is one of the biggest lessons from today's video. There is a huge difference between beef, more beef, and a carnivore diet built around beef, lamb, eggs, salmon, sardines, oysters, liver, and bone broth. Those are two completely different nutritional worlds. The more I reviewed the research, the more convinced I became that food selection is often the real story, not the label. Next up, lack of collagen-rich foods. Historically, humans consume much more of the animal, including the skin, connective tissue, tendons, bone broth, oxtail, short ribs. Today, many people focus almost exclusively on muscle meat. Adding collagen-rich foods may help create a more balanced approach. So you may ask, what labs would I consider? If someone plans to follow a carnivore diet long term, these are reasonable discussions to have with a healthcare professional. CBC, CMP, vitamin D, B12, folate, ferritin, iron studies, magnesium, homocysteine, a thyroid panel, high sensitivity CRP. In some individuals, urinary iodine, omega-3 index, RBC magnesium, and whole blood thiamine. Remember, test, don't guess. Alright, to make this simple, I'll put a final graphic on the screen where you'll see green, which are usually well covered, yellow, which you should really pay attention to, and red, which you should actively monitor. So, is the carnivore diet perfect? No. But neither is any dietary pattern. The good news is that most of the concerns we discussed today are manageable. Many are preventable. And many depend on food selection than on the diet itself. The healthiest carnivore isn't the person taking the most supplements. The healthiest carnivore isn't the person eating the most ribeye. The healthiest carnivore is the person who understands what their body needs, pays attention to symptoms, uses labs wisely, and remains open to learning. Carnivore can be a powerful therapeutic tool. I've seen it change lives. But like every tool in medicine and nutrition, it works best when it's used thoughtfully. So if this video helped you, let me know in the comments which nutrient surprised you the most. And again, thank you to the viewer who inspired this discussion. I'll see you in the next video.